Welcome to the Thinking Big podcast. I'm your host, Sean Osborn, and today we are leaning into a topic that has the power to transform your life, and that is creating your own reality. Now, I know what you're thinking, Sean, that sounds a bit out there, but stick with me because by the end of this episode, you'll understand not only why this is possible, but how you can start doing this right now.
Welcome to the Thinking Big podcast with Sean Osborn, the show helping you think bigger into your life and potential. Sean believes by equipping you with the tools, strategies, and philosophies required to be successful in all aspects of your life, you can achieve anything you believe in. Empowering our own growth makes a deeply positive and lasting impact on our lives, community, and our world. Now, here's Sean.
Hey, Thinking Big listeners, this episode is brought to you by The Secrets of Success. This community is designed for individuals who seek more than just fleeting motivation and are ready to actively pursue their goals with certainty without sacrificing fulfillment. If you are not just content with liking motivational content, but are committed to becoming the change you wish to see in this world, it offers a blend of historical wisdom, practical application, and a supportive community for personal and professional growth. Just click on the link in the show notes to get more information. Well, let's kick things off with a little fundamental truth. Nothing is real until you make it real. I'm going to say that again. Nothing is real until you make it real. Everything in your life, every achievement, every relationship, every success, it all started with a mere idea and a possibility. And it's up to you to turn that possibility into a reality. And that's what we're going to explore today, the incredible process of transforming possibilities into probabilities and probabilities into tangible results. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of a vast field, and this field represents all of the possibilities in your life. Some parts of the field are familiar. These are things that you already know that you can do. But there are other areas that seem distant, maybe even unreachable. Those are the possibilities you haven't explored yet. And the question is, how do you cross the field and turn those distant possibilities into your new realities? And the answer lies in understanding and mastering the process of reality creation or manifesting. It's a journey to take things from the impossible to the possible, and then from the possible to the probable, and then finally from the probable to the real. And you're already doing this every single day and probably without even realizing it. Think about the last time you went to exercise. You had an idea, I need to go run, Sean. The idea started as a possibility. But because you know where you can go run, how to get there, and that you had some running shoes, it quickly became a probability. And when you took action and actually went to the gym, laced up the shoes, you turned that probability into a reality. Now, I can hear some of you saying, but Sean, going for a run is easy. What about the big things in life? What about starting a business or changing careers or finding the love of your life? And you're right to ask that question because those are the things that really matter. But here's the secret. The process is exactly the same. How you do anything is how you do everything. And whether you're going for a jog or you're building your dream life for whatever that looks like to you, let's break that down. And if you follow any of my laws of success stuff, this might sound a little bit familiar to you. So number one, we're going to break this down. So number one, belief. Everything starts with belief. If you don't believe something is possible, you will never take the steps to make it probable. This is why so many people get stuck. They shut down possibilities before they even explore them. Your first job is to open your mind on what's possible. Number two, knowledge and experience. Once you believe something is possible, you need to gather knowledge and experience. This is where you start to bridge the gap between possible and probable. And the more you know, the more likely you are to succeed, and action builds confidence. And when you're confident of success, it builds your persistence to continue. Number three is strategy and planning. With belief and knowledge in place, you can create a strategy. This is where you break down your big goals into manageable steps. Each step you complete increases the probability of overall success. And here's the thing, you don't need the entire strategy, the entire plan to start. You will become aware of those things as you move forward. And that leads us into number 4, action and adaptation. Finally, you need to take action. But remember, action without adaptation is just like trying to drive a car without a steering wheel. You need to be ready to adjust your course as you go along. Now, let me give you a real world example of how this process actually works. Let's say you want to start your own business or a new career. At first, it might seem impossible, especially if you've never done it before. But let's walk through this process. First, you need to believe it is possible for you. You have to do that first and foremost. Look around you. There are millions of businesses in this world. Many started by people just like you who've never done it before, who didn't know what they were doing. And if they can do it, why not you? That's your shift from impossible to possible. I want you to adapt the saying, why not you? Or for you, say, why not me? From a neuroscience standpoint, what you are actually doing is putting a little bit of doubt against your limiting belief that you can't do it. You just doubt it out. Doubt it out. Next, you gather knowledge. You read books on entrepreneurship. You take online courses, maybe even shadow a successful business owner and get into like a mastermind with other entrepreneurs. With each piece of information, you are moving from possible to probable. Then as you gather knowledge, you start to create the strategy. You break down the process of starting a business into steps. Come up with an idea, create a business plan, secure funding, develop your product or service, whatever it is, then launching. And each of these steps have sub-steps. And as you tick them off, you're increasing your probability of success. And finally, you take the action. You start working through your plans, adapting as you go. Your initial idea is probably going to need some tweaking. And that's okay because adaptation is part of the process. I have never, ever once seen a fully formed process out of the gate or fully formed idea fully working out of the gate. It takes change. It takes adaptation. It takes you, when things don't go right, you change them, you adapt. And that's where the magic happens. As you move through these steps, what once seemed as impossible becomes not just possible, not just probable, but real. You've created your own reality. And this process isn't just for big lifetime, life-changing goals. It's a framework that you can use to apply to every aspect of your life. And when you do, that's when you start to truly control your reality. Let me give you a real personal example. Back in 2009, I realized that I wanted to improve my health. There's a whole story behind this that I could probably do 5 or 6 episodes on, but let's just say that my scale was broken and it said I was 220-ish. Never went any higher than 220. Okay, that's not great, but hey, it is what it is. It says 220. One day I had to go to get a physical. Actually, the nurse came to our house to do a physical for life insurance. And the nurse came in and she had her own little scale and it said 270. And I literally fought with her for 10 minutes saying, no, you're wrong. Your scale is wrong. It is not right. And after fighting with her for about 10 minutes, I became to realize that that was reality. I was pushing 270 pounds. And I know what you're thinking. Sean, how could you not realize that you were gaining that much weight? And I think it's called delusion. Now, there were plenty of signs. My clothes kept shrinking. I got new clothes and they kept shrinking. And since my scale kept saying 220, I automatically, and the only rational thing I could think of was that my wife was shrinking my clothes when she washed them and dried them. Anyways, that's a whole long story. Trust me, she still won't wash and dry my clothes to this day. But anyways, let me get back to realizing that I had to do something about my health. Now, I could have just said, I want to get healthier and left it at that. And honestly, nothing would have changed. We have to get specific and crystal clear on what it is that we want. Now, before I tell you what the goal was, and the goal that I said was, just realize if you're new to thinking big, that sometimes I do stupid shit. I have think big, right? I have big ideas. I think of some stupid stuff sometimes. So I set a goal to do an Ironman event. I saw one on TV while I was sitting there on my butt watching TV, and I thought, now that's something I want to do. And if you haven't heard of an Ironman, it is a single 140.6 mile endurance event. First you start off with a nice little 1.4 mile swim in open water. Then you do a 112 mile bike ride. And then you jump off your bike, put on your running shoes, and you finish it off with a full 26.2 mile marathon. As I said, I sometimes have stupid ideas and do stupid shit. First, I had to believe that it was possible for me to do an Ironman. And when I first had that idea, I in no way had any way to think it was possible. Hell, I couldn't even, go to the cupboard to get cookies without getting winded. I was not in a spot to say, yeah, I think I can do that. I believe that is possible for me. But as I took some action on getting healthy, I started to build the possibility. Then I educated myself on nutrition, exercise, and lifestyle factors that contribute to being an Ironman. And I created a strategy, breaking down each discipline into manageable goals, like training for a 5K run, then a 10K run, then a half marathon for running, joining a master's swim group and cycling clubs. But here's the crucial part. I didn't just create a plan and hope for the best. I systematized it. I made it a habit. I put it on my calendar. I created reminders. I tracked my progress. The things you track, you manage. And I turned my health goals into a series of daily probabilities. And you know what? It worked. Now, it took 3 years before I did my first Ironman, but it worked. That Ironman idea went from impossible to possible, to probable, to actually happening and doing. Now, for some of you thinking, that's great, Sean, but I don't have that kind of discipline, and that's where you are completely wrong. Discipline isn't something that you're born with. It's something you create. There's a famous quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He says, first you must do the thing, then you get the energy to do the thing. So in this case, first I had to exercise before I got the energy to exercise. I had to do it before I thought that it was possible to do it. You have to do it first. Let's talk about how you can start applying this process to your own life. First you need to get crystal clear on what it is that you want. You have to have it in such clarity. It's like the Ironman. I knew on this date, I had to be able to do this, this, and this. On that date, I knew exactly where I was going to be. I knew exactly what was going to happen. You've got to be crystal clear on your outcome. What are the realities that you want to create? Don't censor yourself with limiting beliefs here. Remember, we're starting with possibilities. Write them down, all of them. Next, look at each of those possibilities and ask yourself, do I believe this is possible? And if the answer is no, dig into it and find out why. Do a seven layers deep. I do a thing, just look it up on the podcast, but 7 layers deep on your why. Why are you not thinking that you are able to do that? Remember this, what we think are reasonable goals are really just limiting beliefs rearing their damn heads. Often our limiting beliefs come from lack of information or from past experiences that aren't relevant to our current or future situation. Challenge your limiting beliefs and put some doubt into your subconscious. Just doubt that SOB out. Doubt it out. Doubt it out. Remember that saying, doubt it out. All you have to do is doubt it out and you can start gaining the possibilities of things. And for the possibilities that you want to believe in, start gathering knowledge, the ones that you have. What do you need to learn to make that possibility more probable? Who do you need to talk to? What experiences do you need to have? Then create your strategy, breaking down your goals into milestones. What are the steps you need to take to reach each of those milestones? Be specific as possible, because remember, each specific step increases your probability of success. Now, here's where people falter. They create this plan and then nothing. They don't take action. Don't let that be you. Choose one action you can do right now, today, after this podcast. What's one thing you can do to move towards your goal? What's one thing to move you from impossible to possible? It doesn't have to be big. Remember, we're only dealing with probabilities here. Each small action increases the probability of success. But here is the secret sauce that will supercharge your ability to create your own reality. You must be adaptable. The world doesn't always cooperate with our plans, and unexpected things happen, and this shit happens, right? The key is not to see these as setbacks, but as opportunities to adjust and improve your strategy. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're working towards starting that business that we just talked about earlier. You've done all the research, you've created a plan, you're ready to secure funding, but then a global event impacts the economy and the traditional funding sources dry up. What do? This stuff is what happens. And if you're rigid in your thinking, you might see this as the end of your dream. Boom, gone, your dream is done. But if you're adaptable, you'll see it as a challenge to overcome. Maybe you explore crowdfunding, or you bootstrap the business yourself, or you pivot to another idea that's in line with it, but something more specific and suited for the new economy. Your goal doesn't change, but your plan to it has. And that's the big thing. Don't change your goals on a whim. Just change how you get to them. Adjust. Just re-look at how you're going to do it. This adaptability is what separates those who constantly create their desired reality from those that don't. It's not about having a perfect plan. It's about having a clear goal and being willing to adjust your course as needed to reach it. I want to say that again. It's not about having a perfect plan. You don't need a perfect plan. It's about having a clear, crystal clear goal and being willing to adjust your course as needed to reach it. Now, I want to address something that I think is very important. When we talk about creating your own reality, we're not talking about some magic or some wishful thinking. We're talking about a practical, actionable process of turning possibilities into probabilities into realities. It's not about closing your eyes and wishing for something to happen. It's about opening your eyes to the possibilities and creating strategies to make them probable, and then take consistent, adaptable action to get them in real. And here's the beautiful thing. As you get better at this process, as you become more skilled at turning possibilities into realities, your beliefs on what's possible expands. It gets bigger. And if you follow the Think and Grow Rich stuff that I do, this is what we mean by when we say success consciousness. This is success consciousness. Things that once seemed out of reach become achievable. You start to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You become the architect of your own life. But remember, this isn't a one-time thing. It's not like you apply this process once and suddenly your life is perfect. Creating your reality is an ongoing process, and it's something that you do every single day with every decision that you make. And here's your challenge. Choose one area of your life that you wish to create a new reality. It could be your health. It could be your career. It could be in relationships, whatever matters most to you right now, and apply the process that we've talked about today. Believe in the possibilities, gather knowledge, create the strategy, take action, and be prepared to adapt as you go. And here's the most important part. Stick with it. Don't stop until you've got there. Don't stop until it's done. Creating your reality isn't always easy. There will be days where you feel like nothing is working. But remember, you're dealing in probabilities. Each action you take, each day you stick to your plan, increases the probability of success. And before you know it, what once seemed as impossible will become your new reality. You have way more control over your life than you realize. You have the power to shape your existence and create a life that you love living. With that power comes responsibility. The responsibility to think big, to plan smart, and to act consistently. And before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this thought. Your reality is not something that just happens to you. It's something that you create day by day, decision by decision, action by action, and your new reality is waiting for you to create it. So until next week, this is Sean Osborn reminding you to think big, believe in possibilities, and take action to create your own amazing reality. Thank you again for tuning in to the Thinking Big podcast.